Battlefield 6's latest update, while pretty small in nature, has actually done a lot for the game to improve the core experience and address some of the core lingering issues that were frankly game-breaking at times. You know, drone bugs, missile and countermeasure bugs, and weapon bloom bugs, all addressed. I've gone over these changes in our most recent video, which I've left link in the description down below and in the end screen of this one, but today we're looking forward, because the Battlefield comms account over on X dropped a pretty sizable post today that goes over a bunch of things that the developers have in their crosshairs to either address, fix, or change in a coming update, a lot of which directly speak to some of the community's biggest concerns. One thing that I will say right off the rip here is that despite some of the pain points that we have been going through at the start of Battlefield 6's life cycle here, I've got to give credit to the devs where credit is actually due regarding their communication and transparency of priorities. While we've had that, whole rug pull fiasco from earlier in the piece, the dev blog alone here today lays out a ton of priorities and most importantly, gives us some concrete timelines about what is being addressed and when. So again, I've got to give credit where credit is due. The communication and level of detail is extremely important, and it's good to see. Anyways, looking forward, as I said, let's take a look at some of the key active development changes that DICE have in the works here, especially the changes that are coming on November 18th, so aka next week, with the California Resistance update that will also see Eastwood come into the game. These are the following changes. For one, weapon dispersion bloom fixes. DICE have, quote, made a small tuning pass that reduces how quickly dispersion and recoil builds up during sustained fire across most, if not all, weapons. The dispersion side of the pass will apply to all weapons in the game, while recoil will apply to most weapons in the game, aiming to make weapons feel more consistent and smoother to operate, especially at longer ranges. Now, off the rip here, I've actually got to be honest in saying that I do have a slight concern here with this change. My hope is that this doesn't lead to the gunplay of the game becoming too laser beamy, or for the lack of a better term, Delta Forcey. If any of you here watching this video got to play Delta Force, then you'll also know that with the right weapon setups and with the attachment system that was available in that game, you could very quickly turn every single gun into an absolute gigabeam that simply could just laser beam targets at 150 meters plus. We also saw this issue in Battlefield 2042 as well. And the last thing I want to see is weapons being capable of laser beaming targets at that 100 plus meters range. I'll be honest in saying that I kind of thought that with the most recent bug fixes that the gunplay was already, kind of pushing itself back into a peak position that it's been in so far. So my hope is that the chosen wording of this, update being small is accurate and it's not a sweeping change that does see Battlefield 6's gunplay and skill expression get condensed to shit. But we'll see in due time. Lighting adjustments and visibility updates are also on the way, with DICE stating that they've, quote, made further improvements to soldier visibility, particularly when transitioning between interiors and exteriors. These updates enhance exposure balance to make enemies easier to see in varying light conditions. Honestly, excellent. There have already been some changes made on this side of the game in previous updates, but on maps like Firestorm, there's still a little bit left to be desired on this front. This continues to be one of the biggest pain points in the game for the infantry gameplay side in particular, so bringing these changes on is something that I'm really happy to see DICE prioritizing here. Challenge clarity updates are also coming. The devs are working to refine, the challenge descriptions and tracking to make sure that they are easy to progress and understand. Thank the Lord for this one. If I'm being honest, honestly, the tracking part in particular needs some serious love, and there are a bunch of challenges in the game that are just simply, downright uncompletable for a lot of people. I, for one, am stuck on the final support class mastery challenge because the incendiary weapon challenges aren't tracking damage over time values at all for me. So that means that, yes, only direct hits are being counted, and with the support's airburst, I've just given up on this challenge until it gets fixed. So again, glad to see that this is in the works here. Fort Linden, aka the Battle Royale mode map, is also coming to Portal with more segments being available for creating community experiences. Obviously, Portal has its issues right now, but that's for a video for another day. Overall, for me, it's good to see that the community who are using Portal are going to get more areas of that Battle Royale map to leverage for their own experiences. Again, it's cool to see. And the devs are also working on some aim assist adjustments, mainly putting a pass in to ensure that, the aim assist feels smoother and is more predictable to allow players to build build a stronger muscle memory, the devs have cited that the tuning will be more akin to what it felt like in the open beta. Controller players, I'll be very keen to hear your thoughts on this in the comment section down below, because I obviously, can't speak to this with any degree of authority whatsoever as a mouse and keyboard player. So, yeah. Let me know down below. So yeah, already guys though, we've already got an important set of updates coming with Eastwood's release and the new content there. Again, it's a bit of a shame that to me that you guys didn't get to experience Eastwood first ahead of Blackwell Fields, because it is by far the superior map, but the wait will be worth it in my opinion, and it will be a welcome addition to the game's map pool. And again, the fact that we're getting more enhancements to the game's back end and to the systems of the game alongside that content update, I think is going to be a very welcome combination for a lot of people in the community. But the devs actually haven't stopped there at all. They've also detailed what they have slated for the Winter Offensive update releasing on December 9. For one, there's going to be a vehicle balance pass coming to the game. DICE have stated that they've made an initial tuning pass to smooth out some of the biggest balance outliers between vehicles. Expect more consistent vehicle combat across the board. Now, to temper some expectations here, the keywords in this statement are initial and biggest. So in my sense of the word, that means that only the most extreme outliers are actually going to see some changes in this first pass. Now, for me personally, my hope there is that aircraft time to kill and potentially tow missile handling among a bunch of the vehicles and also the stationary weapons is captured among these initial changes for some tweakage. I mean, if they wanted to go the next 9 yards, I'd also like to see RPG velocity nerfed by about 10-15% to be a bit less, reliable and dependable against air vehicles, particularly helicopters. But that's my personal wish list there. I've got no idea what the devs are actually capturing with this particular balance pass. It'll be interesting to see what exactly happens here. To see that the devs are though focusing on the vehicle balance and are also slated to get some initial changes out pretty soon though is a great bit of info to hear about in my opinion. I know that I am far from a vehicle main in this game, but the current state of vehicle gameplay does leave it a bit to be desired. It's great to hear that the devs are listening to feedback on this, and I actually hope this helps to improve the overall skill gap of the vehicles right now. It kind of feels that if you get shot first, you're kind of going to die first unless you've got an absolute horde of engineers up on your 6. So yeah, it'll be good to see some more skill gappage come to the vehicle game in my personal opinion. Anyways, for December 9, we're also seeing rush and breakthrough mode improvements, which to me is music to my ears. Several maps across both modes are seeing some love to improve the flow, whether this be changing MCOM placements, adjusting sector objective capture zones, adjusting vehicle counts for the mode. DICE are hearing our feedback on these modes and are looking to make some improvements. As someone who is a massive fan of Battlefield's more linear attack and defend modes when they're done well, this would be absolute music to my ears personally. Breakthrough in particular has been a bit of a disappointment for me with this game, but I know it can be fantastic with some minor adjustments and improvements. The devs particularly called out Mirak Sector 1 as an example, stating that they have adjusted the capture zones and have lowered the vehicle count to make that problematic sector flow a bit better. We'll have to see if they actually end up cooking, but the fact that we're getting some love there in the first place is good to see for me. So that is a rundown of everything that the developers have got hard deadlines against so far and are seeking to deploy to the game in Season 1. It's a pretty solid list in my opinion that, when combined with what's been deployed already and is already being fixed, will actually go a long way in polishing the Day 1 plus Season 1 package that is Battlefield 6. It doesn't fix everything, but it is a start, which is why it's a good thing that the developers didn't stop there with this post, folks. No, you thought this was the end of the video, not even close. They have also elaborated on some of the priorities that they've marked as under review that they are focusing on, but don't have an established timeline for yet. This video is already getting lengthy, so I'll only go through a couple of the highlights here that are in this section, but so far they have identified that for one, map design and map sizes are being worked on. The devs have stated, quote, "We have seen your comments about map size and pacing. Battlefield is at its best when maps offer different ways to play and constant action around every corner. Striking that balance is always a priority, and we're committed to a variety of map types across future seasons. With Eastwood arriving in the California Resistance update, we will continue monitoring the existing maps and modes for targeted adjustments like what's planned in Winter Offensive, while also learning from community creations in Portal." I think they actually hit the nail on the head here with the whole Battlefield is at its best when maps offer different ways to play, and we're committed to a variety of maps across future seasons remarks there, with the keyword being variety. Now look, I know that a lot of the maps in this game do tend to trend towards the smaller size at the moment. This wouldn't be the first Battlefield game to scale maps to the smaller side of things with a couple of larger standouts. I think back to Battlefield 3 in particular. And I definitely agree with the developer's statement as well that I think it's healthy for Battlefield to include a variety of large, medium, and small experiences. A Battlefield map pool at launch that exclusively focuses or majority focuses on large maps only, and I'm going to use Battlefield 4 as a bit of an example here, does tend to create a bit of a one-dimensional experience. Now, obviously, Battlefield 4's map pool became incredible after more and more updates dropped, but I actually found the day one map pool of that game to be a little bit left to be desired, in my opinion, from a variety perspective. However, I do admit that in Battlefield 6, that's probably tilted a little step of the way, a bit too far the wrong direction, and I admit that seeing more large-scale maps in this game should probably be the priority for DICE in future seasons. I'm interested to see what the focus is for post-release content, but I do think that the community does have a valid criticism in that a lot of the maps in this game are on the smaller side of things, and it would be nice to see a couple of larger ones in there too. DICE have also called out UI and menu improvements as being on the list for future updates at a undisclosed timeline. They're basically looking to make adjustments into the menu experience to make it far more intuitive, including in the settings menus, equipping earned skins, and finding community experiences through Portal. Honestly, if we can ditch the whole Hulu-ass style menu in the process, that'll be great, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that. It seems to be a bit of a trend in the gaming space right now for whatever reason, and I don't think we're actually going to get anywhere there. Hit registration is also something the developers are investigating and are seeking to make improvements to. The work is closely tied to potential updates around the time to death in the game and the time to kill consistency, as well as bugs that result in us dying around corners and around cover quite a bit. Obviously, that has been a growing issue in the community now that the gunplay is being tightened up and being a bit more consistent. Obviously, when you can land more bullets on targets, you're going to get more damage compression, which means that, yeah, more dying around corners. From an infantry gameplay perspective, I think this is probably the priority I'd like to see DICE work on. I have been experiencing a ton more deaths around corners as of late, so I think this is something that should definitely see some focus from them after they get these other more pressing updates out of the way. And the last point that I think deserves a bit of a call out in this video here is the point around the vehicle ecosystem. A more holistic review of the vehicle experience across all maps, ensuring a more balanced combat experience across the entire game, is also in DICE's purview and is something they're looking at as well. I can imagine that this is going to take quite some time for them to roll out here, but honestly, I am also glad that they are making a more holistic review. I'm hoping that this also leads to a few features and a few customization options that are lacking in the game right now getting added too. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see just, what the vehicle review and what the holistic vehicle overhaul that they're kind of working on right now, or at least alluding to working on, will look like. We don't have much in the way of details there, but I guess time will tell, right? Anyway, folks, those are the major talking points that I wanted to cover in this video. I will be honest, there is a whole nother section here about RedSec, but in all honesty, the video is getting long enough as it is, and a lot of you guys I know aren't as interested in RedSec. So with that in mind, I will leave it here. There is going to be a link in the description down below if you do want to check out the sort of community note for yourself. But once again, guys, I really appreciate love and support as always. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to backhand the like button and get subscribed while you're at it, because we've got a ton more Battlefield 6 content on the way in the very, very near future. And let me know in the comment section down below what your guys' thoughts are on everything we've talked about so far. It honestly sounds like a really good set of polish and improvements that are coming to the game. It just can't come soon enough. But I'm hoping that DICE can cook and can get it out to us pretty soon here. Anyway, folks, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out. Have a good one, guys. Take care.